Hello and welcome to Star Citizen Sunday. This is a weekly show which covers all the news from Star Citizen from the week just past. I am your host Mac, so let's get on with it. This week we hear about landing aids, we get the latest on ship armour, and a brand new ship damage system which is determined by the materials that your ships are made from. So Star Citizen Live this week was with two of the vehicle team answering our questions. We had Dave Coulson and John Crew. They explained that we now have two vehicle feature teams, two vehicle content teams, and one new vehicle experience team. This enables better planning and organisation. Now the experience team, they cover everything about the vehicle, so flying, fighting, interacting. Basically, it's a holistic look at all the features that tie together. The first job was this new look ahead camera, which we have while flying. If you turn, your head sort of looks in that direction. It also is to support other feature teams as they develop new systems. Now the first question is, what is the situation on landing aids? Now they want the old landing pad radar from 2.5, kind of like a 3D image. Currently the UI is focused on this 3D imagery, so they are looking and working together to add more 3D elements to the HUD, including the landing UI. Also, headlights will get fixed. They are quite dim, or some of them are too bright, so they need to be readjusted. This will help illuminate the ground beneath as well. And Dave Coulson did say that they will investigate cameras facing downwards. Not a guarantee, but they will look into it as they are exploring it. If they can do that, that'll be great, being able to look at an MFD with a picture-in-picture of beneath you, because it's all well and good finding a landing spot, but then you can't see these rocks and outcrops that anything touching it will just cause your ship to be imbalanced. So anything that allows us to see the ground would be perfect. Next question is, how is it going with armour? So basically, they want a physically based damage system and armour, and this is all in production right now. In fact, Chris Roberts is actually working on this personally. Damage will be defined off of the ship's material. So for example, if a ship is made out of plastic, it'll work out the ship's mass and volume based on that material, and it will behave like it's a plastic ship, as well as the damage it can take. So it takes all the materials that make up the ship, and it will firstly then determine the ship's mass, and then each material will have its own strength, its own weight, its own penetration value, and so on and so forth. Now each section of the ship will behave as you would expect it to based upon that material. From there they will then figure out the penetration values, they will add the armor values. So instead of the left wing, as it currently is, having X amount of hit points, it'll be that the left wing is made from this material, which has this strength, this penetration, and these values to it. Now this, personally, I find is pretty mind-blowing, and it's going to be incredible once it gets in game. There is so much to be said about this whole thing, more than I can fit into a Star Citizen Sunday, so I will delve deeper in a separate video, but do be sure to let me know what your thoughts are, as it'll give me more to think about when making that video. Next question is, are you happy with the flight mode? Now they say they are happier than they have been for a long while. There's still a lot to go on with. The thruster efficiency curves are what they are working on now. This requires more work with the aerodynamics, so they are working on how the aerodynamics and drag is calculated, which we will talk about a little later, and just getting that worked out on all the ships. It should improve the whole experience. They're also adding jerk to make ships feel a lot more smoother and less rigid in their movements. Hopefully all of this will make the ships feel right in atmosphere, and in space as well feel a little more interesting. This is kind of what they were trying to achieve with hover mode, but instead of doing it in one way, they're doing it in a more holistic way as well, so it should really help. The thruster curves work intricately on each thruster, which means that in the future, when we change our thruster sets on our ships, it should change the efficiency curve and feel a lot different. Now the goal, they say the end goal for atmospheric flight is for it to feel realistic, like you would be flying a fighter jet, but the differences would be, it'll be what you would expect from a spaceship. So not a fighter jet, because obviously not all of them are fighter jets. Ships like the Gladius should feel more like a fighter aircraft, but they should all feel very unique to the shape that they are. Again, more on this later on, which is very interesting stuff. So, next question is to do with the 300 customization. What is next in terms of customizing our ships? Now, they do want to have proper interior customization for ships, but they said the time and effort it took to create all the customization that we had for the 300 was about the equivalent to bringing a whole ship from concept through to flight ready. So it takes a big effort from a lot of different departments. Obviously, the more that they do, the more lessons they will learn and the quicker they will be at doing this, but it's not a simple effort. Now, they do have a lot more plans to bring more in the future, but I think it's something maybe a bit longer term than short term. Next question is to do with the new shield tech and how's it going. Now, this new tech is using what's called signed distance fields, or SDF for the future of this script. Force fields, basically, that go around your ship and encode how far away at every point of that ship the point is. So basically, if a bullet is fired at the ship, then the SDF will calculate how far it is from the surface. It is much more reliable and will not have any holes. They're still getting the new system swapped over to the new ships. Then they need visual effects to create the new effects, like bullet hits. It's also a brand new file format, which needs a bit more work as well. Now, it's not just going to be for shields. SDF will be used for atmospheric entry, so whatever angle you are entering at in the atmosphere, the effect will be played on the appropriate face of the ship, not constantly on the nose. Next question is, are the docking hatches on the ships like the Caterpillar and the Freelancer compatible with each other? Now, they say yes, there are two types of docking collars. We have the circular docking collar, which is 2 meters diameter. This is like what we have on the Caterpillar and the Freelancer and other ships. It is big enough for players just to walk through as well, which is great. And also the manned turrets are the same size. So once you blow off a manned turret, it becomes a 2 meter diameter docking collar. The other option is a rectangular 4x2 meter capital ship size collar, like what we see on the front of the Hammerhead. Now, they're not compatible between each other, so you can't attach the rectangle collar to the circular one, but they are between themselves. Also, space stations will support both, but that's not to say that in the future, when they create things like boarding devices, if there would be an option for swapping on this boarding device, a rectangular or a circular one, depending on what ship you're attacking, but it's not guaranteed. Next question is there still plans to allow players to paint ships? And they say, yes, this is still part of the plan, but they're just unsure to what extent. They also do want us to pick emblems and decals from a pre-selected pool of logos. Ships will have genetic logo locations where you can put them on, but one day they may allow us to upload our own decals, but I think that it would need to be vetted because obviously they don't want a cock and balls flying around in space. Next question is what's going on with the altimeter? Are we still getting one? And they say, yes, it's coming with the HUD rework, which is still work that's ongoing. Someone asked about the multi-crew experience. Now, I did do a video quite recently on what we currently know is likely to come for multi-crew. Do check that out as a previous video. Now, they say they're focused on this MFD or multi-function display screens, which will be a big part of the ship interaction for multi-crew now. So they're reworking the MFDs now, and part of this will be how multi-crew will be incorporated with it. They're thinking about that at the same time. So they're exploring maybe unique MFDs for various stations, also permissions to allow certain people access to certain stations and maybe not others, depending on your rank within the org or the ship. For the multi-crew experience, it does also require quite a lot of interactions internally with ships, so items that are damageable and repairable. That should bring the engineering mechanic. But they know that UI will enable pilots, co-pilots, captains, navigators. It all requires this UI and the MFD rework. So once that's in, we should see quite a big difference maybe when it comes to interacting with ships in different seats. Hopefully that's this year. It sounds like it might be. Someone asked if they plan to add aim assist to turrets. Now, they do want to. They're basically trying to bring ship combat closer to make the turrets more usable, because obviously at distance it might be quite difficult. Aim assist, they say, will not take away the skill. This is more about helping people with a very low ability in aiming, a bit more enjoyable for them. So we'll see how that goes. It's an ongoing thing, I'm sure. Next question is, can we get the mouse wheel, sort of scroll wheel speed limiter for ground vehicles? And Dave says this is an excellent idea. Ground vehicles are currently being evaluated now, so personally I think we can expect the scroll mouse wheel to affect ground speed vehicles, and I think that's a good idea. So yeah, it also leads into the next question, which is about the Gravlev bikes. When are we going to be able to travel at top speeds with them? Now, they say the speeds are quite low, purely because there are so many obstacles on planets that traveling at these super high speeds means you constantly hit stuff and blow up and you can't repair and so forth. Now, I personally think if they bring in the scroll wheel function for ground vehicles that let us determine how fast or slow we want to go based on our own confidence behind the controls, I think that's a good way. So if you see an open bit of land, you can ramp it up If you come across a lot of rocks, you can slow it down again. That, I think, sort of kills two birds there. Next question, ground vehicles, will they require refueling and recharging? Again, Dave says it's a great idea. Currently, they do have power plants, and there will likely be some cost to running them, but they're not sure if it's going to be as much as a spaceship would be. But yeah, I'm down for that. Have you considered climbing points for areas of ships? So obviously, if you land and your ramp can't quite reach the ground and you can't get into your ship, can we climb up? Now, they say yes, they're actually adding this at the moment, but there's still a few issues they need to iron out before they bring that in. So hopefully, fingers crossed, we get that relatively soon. Also, for ground vehicles, will we get boost back? Now, apparently it didn't intentionally go away, so if there are some vehicles that don't have boost, it's a bug. They will look into this and hopefully for 3.9 get them all back up and running again. Now, the next question is, how do you plan to improve ship drag? So one thing is the thruster efficiency curve will give a much more realistic feel to atmospheric flight, but additionally, they are also looking into using the signed distance fields. Now, this could actually work out the shape of the ship. So if the ship is a wedge shape, then it would have less drag and be more aerodynamic than a ship that's more boxy, which will in turn behave differently. Now, this isn't just the overall shape, it is every single aspect of the ship. So if there's a bit less drag in one area of a ship than another, it will cause that sort of what you would expect realistic drag. Now, if this works, it'll be quite massive and really create a realistic effect based entirely on the shape of your ship in all its different areas. The more aerodynamic your ship is, the better it will be in flight. In atmosphere, of course. So it's wonderful to hear this approach, and they are researching it. It's not a given, it's just something they're looking into with this new tech. So fingers crossed it works. Again, do let me know your thoughts on this. I personally think it's incredible stuff that they've figured out here, so let's hope it works. Next question, will there be flat tyres on ground vehicles? And they say, so long as it's not a really annoying feature, they could explore this kind of thing. Wheels do get damaged state, so it's something they will look into, but don't expect that anytime soon, I wouldn't think. And final question, will we ever be able to physically fix our ships with our multi-tool? Now, they say that this is the plan, so yes, maybe using a different repair attachment on the multi-tool, or maybe just a completely different tool altogether. You will be able to repair items on your ship and areas of your ship, but also physically going and getting subcomponents or main components and replacing them, swapping them. The engineering mechanic is going to be quite vast, I'm sure, and as soon as we start getting it in, I will definitely delve into the engineering departments. Anyway, that was the Star Citizen Live. Really good show and a lot more to delve into and talk about there, so we will open some of those questions up into separate videos. Very exciting stuff coming, hopefully this year. Not all of it, I'm sure, but it sounds like this physically based damage system and signed distance fields are well into the works. And with Chris working on the physical damage, I'm hoping it means he wants to get it out ASAP. Anyway, do let me know your thoughts. Let's move on. So also this week, Galactic Guide brought us the Idris system. January's subscriber update is available. There were no real noticeable changes on the roadmap, so I've left that one for this week. Hopefully next Friday is the day for the big update. And both the Squadron 42 and Persistent Universe monthly report are available. To find out what the Squadron 42 report said, follow the link to my video covering it in the description below. So that brings us to the end of the show. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss a video. Hit that thumbs up if you enjoyed it and share the video with all your friends. If you like what I do and want to help me make it better, follow the link below to my Patreon page to learn more.